So welcome everyone. I think technically this is the last panel session of this afternoon. So my name is Dr. Ken Ip, and I'm currently the chairman of the Asian Market Society, and I'm also an associate professor in business technologies. And at a corporate level, I currently manage a Web3 focused VC firm called Neverland, valued at around $75 million US. I'm extremely delighted to be, first of all, thank you, Wow Summit, for inviting me back for the second year. Last year I was a speaker, but I reckon I stuffed it up because I was talking too much. So that's why this year they've asked me to become the moderator instead. So for this panel session, it's going to be about AI tech, the path to mainstream integration. So while with AI rapidly transforming in various industries, so it's very important for us to explore how businesses can effectively integrate AI into their business operations. So to shed light on this very interesting topic, we have assembled a panel of AI experts with us here today who share their insights and experience on achieving mainstream integration. And I'm sure today's discussion, I promise, will be very engaging and lively, and we will encourage every one of you to ask the panelists anything you would like to know about AI integration. Before we get started, let's take a moment to introduce ourselves. So with me today, we have three highly esteemed panelists. So may I invite each of you to give us a brief introduction. Maybe we'll start with Vincent.
Hello, hello. Hi everyone. My name is Vincent. I'm working at the Aster Foundation. So Aster is the #1 blockchain in Japan. It's a general smart contract platform that's building on top of Polkadot. And recently we've explored and expanded in other ecosystems such as Aster ZK EVM. So we're building our own layer 2 on Ethereum. Currently, our strategy is working with a lot of these enterprise clients in Japan. Given our company is also founded there as well. Our founder is Sota-san is our founder. And so we're working with a lot of these enterprises, so Sony, Toyota, you name it, we're in touch with them. And going forward, we're exploring more, we're trying to bring in more consumer applications. So AI is also one of these consumer applications that I'm also looking into. That's something that I'll be focusing on.
Thanks, Vincent. What about you, Cinderella?
Hi there. Happy to be here again. And I am Cinderella Amar. I am a managing partner at Glass Ventures. This is the first venture capital firm that is looking and heavily investing in, wait for it, Web4. So this is where we come in with blockchain being intertwined with AI. We can speak longer about it a bit later.
Oh, and lastly, Samuel.
Hi everyone, thanks for attending this session. My name is Sam Huber. I'm the founder of a company called Landvault. Landvault is initially started in the UK. Now we have a pretty big presence in the Middle East, in the UAE and Saudi, and we build metaverse as a service. So we have a tech stack that enables fairly large client, enterprise and governments to deploy and monetize their own virtual worlds. And we found that the governments of the Middle East specifically are basically early adopters and leaning heavily into that kind of technology. And as part of that, we're building all kinds of tools around this tech to enable faster creation, faster deployment, better monetization. And AI is one of the key technology that acts as a catalyst to accelerate the product and its go-to-market.
Thanks, Samuel. Okay, let's kickstart the conversation by getting all your perspective on the current state of AI technology and its integration into mainstream applications. So my first question is, where do you believe we stand today? And how would you describe the progress that we've made in integrating AI into various industries? Perhaps Vincent, you want to have a crack first?
Sure, yeah. I think AI, we only started kind of getting to really mainstream in the past year, especially when OpenAI came out, and people were just really excited, really surprised about what it could do. So I think when it comes to, we're still pretty early when it comes to AI adoption. But I think in the next few years, the trend that I'm seeing is there's going to be a huge exponential growth. As we're getting more of these data, you're going to see a lot more of these better models, more accurate models out. So you mentioned a couple of integrations that are pretty interesting in current space. I think healthcare is a very interesting one. So I was reading this article about this doctor was going through these X-ray, CT scans. Most of the doctors were like, hey, pretty healthy. But for some reason, the AI picked up something that we weren't able to recognize, and it turns out that was some kind of cancer. So I think AI is definitely, healthcare is, AI could be very helpful there. And I think anything that AI could help a lot when it comes to accuracy, efficiency, cost saving. So healthcare, I think that was more like accuracy, that was efficiency as well. But you take a look at different retail as well, inventory management or supply chain. You can also have these like supply chain optimizations, or when it comes to finance, there's like fraud detection. I think these are some of the interesting integrations that I'm seeing in the past year or so.
Thank you. What about you, Cinderella? Anything you'd like to add on?
I want to demystify a little bit first, right? So number one,
where do we stand today?
Yeah, so I can assertively say that AI is here to stay. It's not the flavor of the month. Let's be clear about that. I think the whole panelist is here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Clear about that, no doubt. Number two, we should distinguish the Gen AI or generative AI and the analytic AI. Analytical AI was here for a long time already. It's used data from history and help predict the future, right? Then you have Gen AI coming into play, which is the new thing right now, and that's why we started to have interest and picking up interest more and more. This Gen AI, to make it like very democratic right now for the audience, is helping to generate content by itself, right, for you. So in a way, if we were all willing to be respectful of the value chain of our brain, if we had one, with these tools, any noise around that can be, managed by another intelligence, done. Meaning that your brain can be on that spot on the value chain, which makes you ultimately more powerful, right? More focused, more powerful. The second thing I want to say about AI that I find very interesting right now, because we speak about like how to get mainstream integration, but the thing is like AI today is what helps to get mass adoption. So that's the play with when I see Web3 projects that we're still missing something to attract a community or to drive a launch or something, because it's a bit too esoteric in a way or what. But with the add-on, the magic sauce of adding these AI or the Gen AI and so on, it's helpful to get the community being attracted to it because it's easy, it's seamless, right? So this is the two main points I wanted to mention.
And lastly, Samuel.
Yeah, so for me, I see AI more as a catalyst to accelerate other technologies rather than technology in itself. So it's a meta technology that will be part of any tech stack, part of any company in the future, a little bit like electricity today powers everything, or everything is online through the internet. This is more than a technology, it's an enabler for the next generation of tech and of industries. And if I take the example of our own field, which is immersive worlds, virtual worlds, gaming in a way, the main challenge at the moment is how quickly can those experiences be created and how much does it cost to build those experiences. And today, building a virtual world at the scale of a country, we're talking about months, if not years of work. This is very complicated, much more complicated than it is to build a website, let's say. And the big catalyst to decrease the cost and the time that it takes to build would be generative AI. So this is how we're thinking about AI and how you can actually apply it to, that was an example, but of course every other industry will benefit from AI. And within the next couple of years, we'll have the two different camps. And if you are not using AI or are not starting to understand how you could potentially benefit from it in the future, you'll definitely be left behind.
Well, thank you, panelists. I guess the next conversation I want to discuss about is challenges and opportunities. No doubt, integrating AI into mainstream applications comes with their own sets of challenges and opportunities. Yeah. So, from each of your own experience, yeah, what are the key challenges you see in this process? And also on the flip side, what do you see are the opportunities? Do you think AI integration presents to businesses and different industries? Maybe we'll start with Samuel this time.
I think it's what I just mentioned, to be fair. It's a catalyst, it's a way to accelerate every single part of technology that we know today to multiple order of magnitudes, not just 10, 20% improvement, but we're talking 10, 20x. Again, when it comes to content creation, for example, the tools that we build, that we already have today, can accelerate the creation of virtual environment by a factor of 30. So something that would take 30 days to build now takes about 1 day. And we think that there is a potential to increase it again by a factor of 3 or 4. So eventually, something that you could create in a month would take only a couple hours. And this is really when a technology like virtual worlds or real-time 3D could really become mainstream. So I think this is the same delta, the same multiplier that can be found across other industries as well.
And Cinderella?
I would say the first challenge is the common misunderstanding by the mainstream street, right? When people are looking at it as a threat, when it should be looked as a threat, right? I think that's the very first one, and that's why we are here on stage, and we keep on doing our mission as evangelists of AI or else, but like to help democratize what's going on here, right? The second one would be regulation, which, you know, in this industry, it's always interesting to see that we've been building a lot without really looking at regulation. And when we're big enough, we come and knock on the door and we're like, okay, now we're ready to be kosher, halal, you name it, right? And in a way, this is the only way it can work, because otherwise, if you start right away with regulation, you have the risk of like limiting your creativity and so on. So don't get me wrong, right? Regulation is super important. My background is in traditional finance. I've been there, been through all these crises and so on. We need risk management and due diligence and so on. But there is a fair play here where it starts, where it should start. But still, this is one of the challenges that I see, especially right now, you can tell in the US, where there is a strong play there.
So do you see this as becoming the major barrier of AI becoming more mainstream than we are today, the regulations?
Regulation. I mean, so the first one is the mainstream misunderstanding of what is at stake, right? When people would tell you, oh my God, AI is going to take my job, right? This is where you're missing the whole picture here, right? It's going to actually enhance your job, right? And then the second one would be regulation, definitely, yeah, obviously.
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. And lastly, Vincent.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to double click on that point. I think regulation is going to be a pretty big thing, especially not a lot of people right now actually know what happens in these black boxes. So I think one of the future trends or opportunities that we're seeing here is really how these AIs would be governed, like how does governance work with some of these AI models? Because right now nobody really knows like what's inside, how it works. So I think there needs to be some way to, I wouldn't say censor. I mean, I don't think censor is not the best word, but a way to make sure these systems are safe. Because right now, what these AI models are doing right now is basically, scraping a lot of data from internet, and the data can only be as good as, as accurate as the data that we inject into these systems. And if people are just putting it, false information or biases, then there's a big chance that these data could also get, poisoned. Agreed. So I think that's a huge challenge that people would have to overcome.
I guess you can just think of it as a standard protocol. Like a Bible to instruct people of what to do and what not to do, right? Yeah, I agree, yeah. I'm sure the audience today is very looking forward to hear about your own personal projects or experience that you're working on that relates to AI. And we'll often hear about, there are so many successful cases, right, or examples of AI integration into different industries. A few of you have already mentioned, like healthcare, for example. But specifically, can you share some very specific examples or work that you're currently working on that have resulted significant impact into your business? And what were the key factors that contributed to the success of this project? Vincent, do you want to?
Sure.
Yeah.
So currently, I'm actually doing a bunch of research on AI and see how AI and crypto could work together. Because at the end of the day, Aster Foundation is a blockchain. So we're not like an AI company, but we do see that this is an upcoming trend that is very powerful, that we got to do some stuff here to make sure we don't miss the narrative as well. So I can only give some examples on some of these projects that I've been speaking with or learning from, which we're trying to emulate something similar onto Aster's network. So one interesting project I did come across was called Upshot. Pretty much what they're doing is addressing a lot of the challenges and problems that we were just talking about, black box, regulations, and data privacy and like transparency. So it takes a lot of data. AI models take a lot of data from you without you knowing as well. So nobody really knows what's happening inside. So what they're trying to do here is incorporate crypto and AI. So basically, each person can participate as a part of the network. And you have your own devices, whether that's your laptop, that's your phone. And what you do is basically once you have that AI model, the training happens in your device. But it takes data from you, but the data never leaves your device. What happens is after it trains that model, it only brings back the learnings to the server. So, and that updates it, after the server gets a bit stronger, gets a bit more advanced, it sends back, information to your device and it keeps updating that. So privacy, you can maintain privacy there. Your information is never shared with other people. Only the learning is shared. So I think that's a pretty interesting, that's also related to DeepIn as well, where essentially, anyone can come up with their own device, start running these like AI models and get rewarded in cryptocurrency tokens. And a lot of these transactions are going to be on chain, so you would know what exactly happened between your device and the network itself.
Thank you. Cinderella.
Look, in 2017, I was lucky to, without knowing it, becoming a builder myself. Before, now I'm investing, but I was a builder before, right? And I was working in capital markets in the dealing room, and I saw, everything was inefficient on the sales side, on the trading side, and so on. And eventually, AI was still it was a thing, but no one was really speaking about it. And eventually, by setting up one of the very first AI chatbots, we managed to cut down the time for execution of a deal from 30 minutes to a few seconds. So imagine how it translates in terms of P&L, and how it translates in terms of willing to wake up in the morning and do your job, right? So happiness, basically, right? So when I saw that, and at that time we speak about analytical AI, right? And we speak about incremental innovation, NLP, so not the AI of today. So just imagine already back in 2017 how a game changer it was, right? Where we are today, 7 years later. It's just everything is all about excitement. And it shows that it can disrupt positively any single industry, right?
Yeah, I'll give a bit more context on the use case that I already mentioned. So our business is Metaverse as a service. We have a set of tools that enterprises and now government can use to build, deploy their own immersive worlds, 3D worlds, directly on their own website as a white label version. And what we put in place is a tool to enable the creation process and to accelerate the creation process significantly. A lot of projects that we do right now, they're related to tourism with the Ministry of Culture in Saudi Arabia, for example, or real estate or urban development. So generally, they are buildings in the experience. So we decided to focus our AI to go from pictures of buildings to a 3D model of a building. So in terms of lessons, what we did is we really narrowed down the use case, because we can't have an AI that does everything where you just describe what you want to build and it builds the entire scene. This is just too big of a project. But we decided to really narrow down the use case to be able to transform two-dimensional images of buildings or sketches into a 3D model of a building. So that's what we decided to start with. And because we narrowed down the problem, we actually were able to build that fairly quickly in a couple of months. And now we have a solution that, for this particular use case, accelerates the development by about 30 times. So something that would take us a month, it takes us about a day. And so the idea here is really bit by bit to find what are the parts of the process that can be optimized, that can be accelerated using AI. And instead of building a model that can do everything, is building different models that are applied to different use cases. So we started with buildings. The next step will be textures. And then we're looking at a whole roadmap of things and ways to tweak the model so that eventually we can put them, we can basically stack them together and accelerate the entire production of a 3D world in minutes instead of months.
Thanks, guys. Next question. I guess in almost all of the panel discussions I've been involved with, right, there's always a questions about future trends and emerging technologies. So looking ahead, I'm curious to know what your predictions are for the future of AI integration, and particularly with the next, 5 to 10 years. Are there any specific emerging trends or technologies that you believe will significantly influence the integration? And what sort of trends do you see for shape the landscape of the whole kind of AI and AI integration? Do you want to have a crack, Vincent?
Sure. Yeah, I think there are a few main things. Hardware improvements. A couple of days ago, I think it was, I think last week or so, the CEO of NVIDIA was talking about this new chip that they have, bigger, better. So I think in the future we're going to see a lot of these chips that are going to be more, bigger chips, like they could process more information. And some of these like AI chips would start to, maybe in the next few years it will be able to mimic how our brain works, how our neural connections work. So they call these like neuromorphic chips. So by having more of these chips, maybe they will be able to better mimic how humans think and do certain functions a lot better than maybe humans. So I think AI hardware is one of them. Second is quantum computing. So quantum computing, I'm not sure how far away we're from that right now, but I think that's going to be a pretty big trend as well. Third is personalization. I think what I would like to see in the next 5-10 years, or maybe less than that, is I think we're going to eventually have our own AI assistants. So eventually we're going to have our devices, they're going to collect a lot of data from us, and eventually this might be like Vincent 2.0. This Vincent 2.0, this AI assistant will be able to carry a lot of the day-to-days that maybe a lot of things at work so we can spend more of our time on focusing on more higher level, more thinking, more different parts of work. So these are the three major trends that I see.
Thank you. Cinderella.
I think Vince said it all, so that's easy. I would just maybe highlight on the quantum computing. This is the big hope we have, right? So the idea is that AI will be on steroid the minute that it functions with quantum computing. And then the perspective is not 5 to 10 years, but way before, right? So it's just, we're in this era where the sky is the limit, as soon as this is all operational and so on. Yeah.
I think the user interface that we use to interact with the AIs is the part that can really improve a lot. At the moment, it's obviously just through text or through just normal online interactions. But I think this is where there's a lot of room for improvement to make the technology itself much more seamlessly integrated, where it maybe does not require much of a human input and just perform tasks in the background.
Thank you, guys. I'm just going through another side questions about Web3 and AI. Since we're at Wild Summit, we're meant to be talking about Web3. So considering the evolving landscape of AI integration, particularly within the context of Web3 and decentralized technologies, so how do you see these two fields kind of intersecting? And what specific challenges do you anticipate in achieving successful AI integration within the whole Web3 ecosystem? Maybe we'll start with Samuel this time.
Yeah, I think I'm going to repeat the same question, but for us, for our use case, again, the big catalyst and the big improvement that AI brings to the table is the creation of those 3D worlds. For us, our belief is that this metaverse, for us, it's just the next phase of the internet. It's a more immersive, three-dimensional internet, which is borrowing technologies that are already being used for a very long time to power video games. And those technologies are now finding use cases beyond games into, as I mentioned, tourism and promotion and marketing and virtual concerts, whatever it may be. There's a significant barrier to entry still, which is the cost and the time that those environments take to build. And no software can, by itself, just decrease that significantly. There is a need for a catalyst, and the catalyst is AI. So for us, this is the big bet that we're making. This is how, for the metaverse or the 3D internet to become mainstream, it needs to be easy to build. It shouldn't take months and millions of dollars to build a virtual experience. Otherwise, this would be limited to a very small amount of big brands and corporates. So if we want everyone to be able to build their own immersive experience, the cost of entry needs to be reduced drastically. So for us, this is where AI comes in when it comes to Web3 and Metaverse as a catalyst that propels the entire industry into the mainstream and helps get the first billion people into those worlds.
Ken, I won't apologize, but this is a boring panel because we all agree, right? It's quite clear. AI, I like it. AI is a catalyst, right, to make it happen. And that the way I was articulating it before is that thanks to this new technology, we're going to finally get to mass adoption. Because this is what we were lacking for now, right? Yesterday I was on stage with Yatsu from Animoca Brands, And I like to debate in general, so that's why I'm a bit annoyed right now. There is no debate here. And I was debating that I was teasing a bit, but we know each other for some time. I was like, don't you think that the metaverse, right, didn't reach the maturation by its ambition, right? Because at the end of the day, it feels like the metaverse is catered towards generation XYZ. Not for me, at least, not for my parents, not for my grandparents. So how are we going to make it? Because when you are in an investor perspective, you assess a project and you look at what's the total addressable market. So if the addressable market is, a bunch of degen, if I may, most probably sometime without even without the finance and so on, how does this project going to be a success, right? So the thing is, like, with this Gen AI coming in right now, it finally eased the access to this metaverse, as you said before. So you say catalysts, I just say this is the way to attract mass adoption, because I am an investor and I'm looking at the dollars. So if I see a project and in my individual capacity, retail capacity, I look at it, and thanks to AI, I'm able to say, oh my God, I'm in, right? I want to be in. Then I'm like, okay, I see mass adoption, I see the dollars, right? And that's why we do invest in Web4, which is basically Web3 plus AI, right?
Yeah, I think with AI and crypto, as I mentioned before, I think decentralized, AI computing, that could be pretty interesting. So I'm not going to repeat myself, but I think some of the challenges that we're seeing here is a lot of projects are still finding the sweet spot for crypto and AI. It's, they're still figuring out. There hasn't been like super perfect model that has worked very well yet, crypto and AI. But I believe in the next year or two, we're going to see a lot more interesting use cases that can see how Web3 and AI are fully, compatible, leveraged. And I think one of the main challenges that I'm seeing right now is AI and crypto. Pretty much, it's like David and the Goliath. A lot of these existing incumbents here are very large tech companies, super well funded, billion-dollar companies. So if you're like a crypto project trying to do something that's decentralized AI, it would take a bit of time before you can bootstrap your network, have all the tokenomics figured out. But I think initially, it does take time to figure out the exact model. But once you have the correct model, it should be able to scale pretty well. Because I think, for example, like having decentralized AI, we all have our phones, our laptops at home. Imagine if the entire world suddenly just uses a specific blockchain protocol to start training the AI models, then we should be able to catch up pretty quickly. So I think it does take time. I think the challenge is about how you can bootstrap the initial blockchain network.
Well, I think we've got about 2 minutes left. I don't think there's enough time to ask another question. Well, perhaps I was wondering if anyone in the audience would like to ask the question of our panelists. Anyone? Well, I guess otherwise we can wrap up, or if any of the panelists would like to leave your last word or your words of wisdoms.
Words of wisdoms. I mean, I think the best way to learn about these new technologies, whether it's AI or Web3 or crypto, is obviously trying it out, see what's out there, and try to keep up with the trends. So if I can encourage anyone to just have a look at all the models that exist and see how that works for you, try to think about how that could be applied to your daily lives, your job, how things could be improved, and try to build new use cases this way.
I would just say the beauty of this industry, it's never too late to crash the party. So no FOMO, but yes FOMO, and I encourage everyone to look at it. Yeah.
I think we're still pretty early. I mean, the past year might seem pretty exciting, and a lot of people are very worried about losing their jobs. But I think there's definitely a silver lining to this. This technology is here to stay. It's going to change our lives. So I think being really educated about AI would be very helpful for you, people around you. So I would say education would be AI education. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Just to piggyback on what Vincent just said, I think that's a saying that currently goes around. It's not AI that's going to replace you. It's those who can use AI that will. So I'm afraid, yeah, that's all we've got time. Oh, sure, you've got a question. Can someone hand this lady a microphone? Oh, yum.
Hi, Just have a question because this panel is about AI, but still it's WoW Summit, so for me it's more into the Web3 space. And so I would like to know your point of view in terms of the synergy between Web3 and AI technologies, because there's a lot of people talking about this, so I would like to have your view on this as well.
I mean, even if, when I said earlier, any industry can benefit from AI, right? It's not necessarily every single blockchain project will benefit from AI, right? But the way I think we all agreed was like AI is a catalyst, as you said, Sam, or is a way to attract mainstream adoption because it makes things easy. Because some blockchain projects can be very esoteric and very hard to, not handy to understand very quickly, and people can be just like, okay, you know, it's too complicated for me or what. And AI can make it way more accessible. So it's all about the accessibility, I would say, right?
To sum up very shortly, Web3 and AI are very two different domains. I would say AI is more the ways, and decentralization and Web3 is more the means of how to get things done. So if you're able to leverage the good on both sides of the world, yeah, then you have yourself potentially a billionaire dog.